because we have to talk about Korban Pesach. We have to give a plug for Haggadah Pesach every single week. So we're going to do that now, just to remind everybody. Thank you to those who ordered this this past week. We're going to print more of these and the English ones. So thank you for placing your order. Don't worry, we're going to send it to you before Passover. I've checked the calendar. Right now, it's not even Tu B'Shvat. So we have about a good 2 months to send you your Haggadahs. So don't worry about it. There's a question that comes up. This is one that you could ask even about non-Haggadah Pesach, just the classic version of every Pesach. It says here that in the middle of Magid, we have to prove, or we cite, I guess this is cross references to explain what the verses mean. There's a declaration that someone says when he brings Bikurim to the temple. That's called Mikra Bikurim. It talks about Arami Oved Avi, and it describes the history of the Israelites when they went down to Egypt and how they got out of Egypt. So the main pasuk says that Am Yisrael became a great nation in Egypt. It says Vayed Mitzrayma, Vayagasham Mutei Me'at. They dwelt there in few of number. Vayisham L'Choy Gadol Asum Rav. There they became what? A great nation, Asum, powerful and many. So just a little vort that came up. What's Varav? Were we numerous? Are the Jews more numerous than any other nation? Moshe Rabbeinu says explicitly no. It's a pasuk in Devarim. God chose you not because you're the most numerous. You're actually quite, compared to any other national body, you're quite small. As a matter of fact, you might be the smallest national body, recognized national body in the world. So what does it mean we're numerous? Okay, we're big. We're an independent. We're a nation that's independent of others, not politically, because we're subjugated by the Egyptians, but we're a recognizable national unit, an ethnic unit. But what does Rav mean? If we're not any bigger than any other nation, because you could describe any other nation as Rav also. So, or Atzum in that case. So it says Gadol Atzum, that there are many. They multiplied very greatly. That means perhaps that we catch up fast. The rate of our growth is exponential, which is greater than other ones. Vayisham L'Goy, here's the explanation. They were Mitsuyanim. Am Yisrael Mitsuyanim Sham. They excelled. So Am Yisrael are excelling. Why is that important? Because, as I pointed out to the guys here in the base matters, like I said, the Egyptians and the Bulgarians, the Russians and the Chinese and the Indians, the Congo people, the Nigerians, the Venezuelans, they're much more than Am Yisrael, right? So what's our advantage, Mitsuyanim? You have billions of people in China and in India. You have a fraction of a percentage, a thousandth of those people in Eretz Yisrael, not even. Yet we're Mitsuyanim. Our contribution to the world in terms of innovation, general wisdom, we're in the forefront, the cutting edge of whatever people are doing right now. Building civilization, Am Yisrael does that much better than everybody else. They're Mitsuyanim in Egypt. They're not really the majority in Egypt. That was what Pharaoh was afraid of. But look, all those 1 out of every 5 winners of a Nobel Prize is a Jew. That doesn't make any sense, right? Wherever they go, the Jews are much more noticeable. It's incredibly disproportionate. That's what it means, that we're greater. But then it brings up Rav, just numerous. And the pasuk here brought up is that Rivava kitzemach hasadeh nethatich. I made you Rivava, numerous like the sprouting of the field. Tzemach is the plants that just grow in a field. If you have a field that something rains there, suddenly you get all sorts of weeds. Everything just pops up on its own. What tirbi, what tigdali, what tavoi ba'avi avayim. So you grew and you became more numerous. Tirbi vatigdali. Tirbi is number, tigdali is size. But God is talking to Am Yisrael as though personified by a woman, a foundling child. And then we for some reason bring up the next pasuk, which is not the next pasuk in Yechezkel. It's a pasuk right before this. So people will read the pasuk. Shadaim lechonus arech simeach va'ate rom veria va'avor laich v'rech mitposefsef b'damayich va'amar lach b'damayich chayi va'amar lach b'damayich chayi. But the problem is this pasuk, the second one that we're quoting, is actually right before the pasuk that we should be quoting. We want to say v'rav, so we bring up Rava Ketzemach to explain this piece of the pasuk. So why do we throw in this pasuk over here? Va'avor laich v'rech mitposefsef b'damayich. Why is this pasuk even here? It doesn't prove the text that we're trying to show here. And not only that, if we want to throw it in, why don't we just put in the right order? We should say, and then the pasuk revavak etzemach. So what is this pasuk being thrown in here for? Is it a misprint? It's not necessary there in context. But then you read what Chazal said in the Medrash. Medrash postdates Targum Yonasan. Targum Yonasan on the pasuk says, and I told you, you shall live by your blood. You shall live by your blood. So what is that a reference to? The 2 blood commandments that they're given in Egypt in order to earn the right, or give them a zechut, as it says, the zechut of the mitzvot to leave Egypt, which Chazal say are what? Circumcision and Korban Pesach, the 2 blood commandments. They also have something else in common. They are both positive commandments, and they're both the ones that if you don't do them, they're punishable by excision. So that is very important because that's basically that pasuk is describing what earned Yetzias Mitzrayim. So that pasuk would not have come up elsewhere in the Haggadah. This concept is not in the Haggadah anywhere, or not anywhere explicitly, but it's alluded to. If you know what this pasuk means, if you're reading this pasuk and you're like, oh, that pasuk says, Targum Yonasan says it right there. The Jewish people were redeemed from Egypt in the merit of performing these 2 commandments. Now we're talking about the redemption from Egypt, so that's why the pasuk was thrown in there. Okay, we give it there. So this brings us back to this whole Temple Mount thing. I know this because Korban Pesach is punishable. Why is Korban Pesach punishable? There are many important positive commandments in the Torah. So circumcision, we said very clearly, if a person doesn't circumcise himself, he's not part of the bris, right? Yeah, or he doesn't make himself, or himself, let's say his father didn't circumcise him for whatever reason, so it's his responsibility when he becomes older. And then the kares is not given to the father. It's not the father's problem. It's this grown man's problem that he's not getting himself circumcised properly. So this brings us to a valuable lesson. We cannot be satisfied with bittul aseh. How many people, I know, from Jews are thinking, Chas v'shalom, I'd go without a bris. Sometimes we can't have a mitzvah. We have a bittul aseh. Chazal said, shev al tasa with sometimes. Sometimes you can't do a mitzvah. Okay, you don't have tefillin. You're on a desert island, so you don't have tefillin. What can you do? You don't have a way to write tefillin. But circumcision, you'd go without circumcision. You say, well, what am I going to do? I don't know. It hurts. Can't do it. No, you got to get circumcised. You will be punished for not getting circumcised. And you know what else you have to do? You have to do Korban Pesach. We're not violating any thou shalt nots, but still just as bad. Not doing Korban Pesach is just as bad as violating Yom Kippur. Eating blood and forbidden fat. They're all chiyuvei kares. So that's what it teaches us. We can't sit down and be like, okay, what am I going to do? Status quo. Am Yisrael, wake up. Korban Pesach is there to wake you up every year. It's the korban. It's the mitzvah that drags you out of Gullus. Korban Pesach is the mitzvah that actually makes you put your money where your mouth is and come out of Gullus. So are you there or not? Okay, I don't know.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.